Flashback to the Linz Open 2 days ago, Eala is leading Ostapenko 5-1 and the tension in the air is thick. After breaking the former champ twice and carving up the court with her lefty forehand, the wheels suddenly fall off. 41 winners to 9, Ostapenko flips a switch into beast mode and Eala's massive lead vanishes like a ghost. She drops the match 6-4, 7-5, but walking off that court, the final score is the last thing on anyone's mind. Because in 4 days, she steps onto a much bigger stage against a field of world-class killers. Eala has officially crashed the main draw in Stuttgart. The WTA elite better keep their eyes peeled. Let's take it back to the beginning. If you only started following her in 2026, you missed the most insane part of the journey. It all started on gritty shell courts at a country club in Pasig City, Philippines. No pristine turf or climate-controlled hard courts, just shell. She was swinging a racket before she could even properly hold one. By age 12, she was halfway across the world, in Tarbes, France. She entered Les Petits As as a wildcard and left as the champion of the world's premier junior tournament. That trophy was her golden ticket to the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca. At 13, she left her childhood behind to train alone against Europe's best. Imagine that for a moment. A 13-year-old from the Philippines with no national tennis pipeline or safety net behind her. With no local icons to follow, she had to blaze her own trail through the sport. She didn't just survive the academy, she dominated, hitting world number 2 in the junior rankings by 2020. In 2022, she became the first Filipino to ever win a junior Grand Slam at the US Open. Suddenly, this kid from Pasig was carrying the weight of an entire nation's sports dreams. But moving from junior stardom to the Pro Tour is the most brutal gauntlet in tennis. Most junior stars fade into obscurity because the WTA does not care about your pedigree. The tour only cares if you can beat a 10-year veteran on a random Tuesday. Eala was ready for the grind. Her early pro years were a dogfight through low-tier events and grueling qualifiers. Every spot she gained in the rankings felt like dragging a boulder up a mountain. She was sharpening her tools under Bosch and Wien, but the tennis world has no patience for potential. Then came March 2025 in Miami, the explosion that caught everyone off guard. Eala was a 19-year-old wildcard ranked 140, practically a ghost to the top tier. Her first 2 matches were solid, but then the momentum started to shift. She stunned Ostapenko, took down another slam winner, and stormed into the quarterfinals. There she faced world number 2 Iga Swiatek, a 5-time slam champion and the queen of the court. Eala didn't just win, she dismantled the defending champ 6-7-5. It wasn't a fluke, it was a surgical performance using lefty angles and ice-cold precision that left the world stunned. Her run ended in a 3-set semi-final war against world-class Jessica Pegula. She missed the final at just 19, but the statement was already heard loud and clear. Her rank skyrocketed and the Filipino fanbase transformed into a global force of nature. Wherever she played, the stands were a sea of Filipino flags and deafening chants. The vibe felt more like a high-stakes basketball game than a quiet tennis match. It ruffled some feathers in the tennis world, but it brought a raw energy the tour desperately needed. By 2026, the underdog story was over. Eala was now a target. She backed it up with a semi-final run in Auckland, taking out Vekic and Linette before a close loss. In Abu Dhabi, she staged an impossible comeback from 4-0 down in the deciding set. She saved the match point to win a 3-hour marathon against Sasnovic, showing pure heart. By Dubai, she was rolling, crushing world number 8, Jasmine Paolini, 6-1-7-6. It was her third top 10 scalp delivered in a night session fueled by pure home court energy. That opening set was a clinic. Eala used her racket like a scalpel, picking the defense apart with total intent. She played with the stone-cold poise of someone who'd finally turned a painful lesson into an ironclad belief. Then came the high-stakes Sunshine Swing Indian Wells and Miami, where she had to fight to keep the points that put her in the top 50. She survived the midnight war at Indian Wells against Diana Yastremska. She moved forward after Coco Gauff was forced to retire with a shoulder injury while trailing 6-2. Leading 2-0, Eala had earned her place in the Sweet 16, but a brutal 6-2, 6-0 loss to Linda Noskova served as a cold reminder life at the top is a shark tank. Miami followed the same script, early brilliance followed by a crushing exit. Karolina Muchova dismantled her 6-0, 6-2, leaving zero doubt about the work ahead. These blowouts hurt, but they don't define her. They just spotlight exactly where her game still needs to grow. Against heavy hitters who can maintain raw power for 2 straight sets, she's still searching for a tactical escape hatch. Her serve is stronger now, but it isn't yet the weapon that can bail her out when the pressure reaches a breaking point. She grinds out wins using pure tennis intelligence, tricky variety, and a relentless burning desire to compete. But against the world's elite at their peak, that grit occasionally falls short. That isn't a failure. That's just the gulf between being in the top 50 and the top 20. Crossing that ocean takes years, not weeks. The rankings told the story with her peaking at a career-best world number 29 in mid-March. But when those 2025 Miami points expired, the cold math of the circuit dragged her back down to 46. The real test wasn't the loss itself, but how she'd handle the drop in rank, a different kind of psychological weight entirely. Next up was clay, her historical kryptonite. Her 2025 record on the red dirt was a lackluster 2-4. After an early exit in Oeiras, she pushed Swiatek to 3 sets in Madrid. It looked good until quick exits in Rome and the first-round crash at Roland Garros exposed the truth. Getting bounced in her French Open debut stung. When she returned to the Nadal Academy in Mallorca last week, it wasn't for a vacation, it was for a total game overhaul. The man overseeing this surgical clay court preparation was none other than Toni Nadal. He's the mastermind who guided Rafa to 14 French Open crowns and the undisputed king of clay court coaching. Eala admitted that training with Toni was the kind of dream her younger self wouldn't have dared to imagine. Having Toni in our corner is a huge blessing, she noted. His wisdom is legendary and he's giving my whole team a massive edge. The focus of their work was surgical, perfecting her touch and her movement. Mastering the slide, recovering her footing and learning to outgrind opponents. Her variety is a killer on hard courts. Her backhand slice and drop shots are elite, but on clay the physics of those shots change completely. The ball hangs in the air longer, rewarding the grinders and punishing anyone who tries to rush the point. Eala was honest about the grind, saying the schedule barely leaves room to breathe when switching from hard courts to clay. Yet she felt a spark of progress, noting her movement felt miles ahead of where it was last season. That new footwork faced an instant trial at the Linz Open, an indoor clay event that serves as a precursor to Stuttgart. She dismantled Julia 6-4, 6-3, looking fluid and sharp, a sign that the Mallorca training was paying off. Then she ran into Ostapenko. The showdown with Ostapenko was a roller coaster that showed both her massive potential and her current limits. She held commanding leads in both sets. She was in total control, using lefty angles to tie Ostapenko in knots with brilliant aggressive strategy. But Ostapenko is a force of nature when she starts swinging for the fences with zero fear and absolute power. When those shots land, she's unstoppable, clocking 41 winners in just 2 sets. 9 winners versus 41 tells you who had the bigger guns, but it doesn't reveal how close the fight actually was. Eala stayed in the trenches and had her chances to steal the win. She just couldn't find that knockout punch at 5-1 in the second set, that one extra first serve to close the door. She needed just one more clutch return. Solving that final piece of the puzzle is her mission in Stuttgart. The Porsche Tennis Grand Prix is a high-octane 500-level event played on indoor clay that mimics the brutal conditions of the French Open. The court uses high-tech moisture control to keep the dirt perfectly humid and dust-free without ever needing a sprinkler. It's a pure, honest surface. Forget the fast, thin air of Madrid. This is real European red clay with a nasty kick, and the draw, it's a total nightmare. Aryna Sabalenka, the world number 1, Elena Rybakina, the 2024 champion, Swiatek Paolini, the list is a who's who of tennis royalty and stone-cold killers. With 7 of the world's top 10 in the mix, there are no easy wins here. She's swimming in the deep end now. After Zheng Qinwen dropped out with an injury, Eala snagged a direct spot in the main draw, skipping the grind of qualifying entirely. That bit of paperwork gave her a breather, sharpening her focus between Linz and Stuttgart. She is stepping into a shark tank where every unknown is a threat and every seed is a giant. So can she actually hang? Let us look at the tape. Her southpaw forehand is a total game changer. On this dirt, her spin pulls righties way off court, leaving the entire baseline wide open. If she keeps the pace steady and forces one more shot, the clay will do the heavy lifting. She's leaner and faster than last year, and her movement is night and day. That backhand slice will skid and bite, forcing rivals to manufacture their own power from nothing, and her drop shot, honed by watching endless footage of Rafa Nadal since she was a kid, becomes a lethal weapon on a surface that kills speed and rewards pure finesse. The cracks are there, though. Her first serve has been a roller coaster throughout 2026. Handing a soft second serve to a heavy hitter like Sabalenka is just asking for a blowout. She has to land her first serves or get swallowed up in brutal high-power baseline wars. Then there is the mental hurdle, the Ostapenko ghost. Watching a massive lead vanish can either forge a champion or leave a permanent scar. Stuttgart will show us what she's made of, and trust me, the Filipino fans will be there. From Dubai to Miami, her supporters turned every single stadium into a home game. Even in Linz, the crowd was loud and proud. Stuttgart will be exactly the same. Sure, the rowdy cheering between serves rattles the purists, but that energy is real. That roar is the sound of an entire nation putting their heart and soul behind one girl. For 100 million people with no tennis history, Eala is the proof that anything is possible. Stuttgart is about more than a Porsche. It is her chance to flip the script on clay. Her story on this dirt has mostly been a list of what she can't do yet. She hasn't been able to outlast the elites or survive those 20-shot marathons. She hasn't been able to serve her way out of a corner when the mud slows everything down. But her last match showed a major shift from her 2025 struggles. She was hunting the ball and dictating play. That Toni Nadal influence is finally starting to bloom. And this brutal draw actually has a hidden upside. When you are the underdog with zero pressure, you can just let it rip. Ranked 46 with nothing to lose, she is the bracket buster no one wants to face. She has already scalped Swiatek Paolini and Ostapenko. No top seed wants this smoke in the first round. They know she will fight until the end. They know her lefty angles can break any plan. This long clay grind starts right here. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and Stuttgart is the opening act. For the girl from Pasig City who was training alone in Mallorca at 13, a giant killer at 19 and World 29 at 20, this is where she grows. She has already conquered the hard courts and made history. Now she has to plant her flag in the unforgiving red dirt. She has to prove her grit and IQ can translate to the slowest surface on earth. With a nation watching, Eala steps onto the clay to answer the critics. The elites are on notice.